Gospel reading, we continue in the book of Luke. We'll be looking at Luke chapter 17, verses 5 through 10 this morning. The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." And he replied, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it will obey you. Suppose one of you has a servant plowing or looking after the sheep. Will he say to the servant when he comes in from the field, 'Come along now, sit down and eat'? Won't he rather say, 'Prepare my supper, get yourself ready, and wait on me while I eat and drink? After that you may eat and drink'? Will he thank the servant because he did what he was told to do? So you also, when you have done everything you were told to do, should say, 'We are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty.'" This is the word of the Lord for the people of God. If only I had more faith, Lord. Lord, increase my faith. How often have we cried out those words? How often have we longed for greater faith? Indeed, there are many times in our lives, the seasons of challenge and suffering, when we may be tempted to roll our eyes heavenward and sigh aloud, "If only I had more faith." In this morning's gospel reading, Jesus tells the apostles, and he's telling us here today, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mulberry tree, "Be uprooted and planted in the sea," and it will obey you. Do we have this kind of faith? I believe we do. How did we acquire this faith, though? Was it through anything we did or accomplished? No. You see, faith is a gift which has been given to us by God through what God accomplished for us in sending his Son into this world to die the death that we deserve so that we can be free to live and do the things that God created us to do. Now, faith may very well be as small as a mustard seed, but God is telling us that this is as big of a faith as you need. This is all we need. If we needed more, God would provide more. There's nothing as great, nothing as powerful, nothing as valuable as the faith through which God saves us and calls us. We're told in Ephesians chapter 2, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves, it is the gift of God, not by works, so no one can boast." So, Jesus is telling us, don't be discouraged if you think you only have a small amount of faith. Don't be telling God that God hasn't given us enough faith. Instead, take hold of that mustard seed faith, claim it as a gift from God, and enjoy. Let's let go of all those other things that we desire to have in order that that mustard seed will grow and become a tree so that the birds of the air come and perch in its branches. It's not how much faith that we have that's important. It's what we do with the faith that we have. So what are we doing with our faith? Are we doing what we ought to be doing? God has given each of us all the faith we need to achieve God's objectives. It's up to us to take the faith that God has entrusted us with and use it for the building of God's kingdom. And after all, it's really not our faith in the first place. It's God's faith given to us as a gift for the good of all. We need to be good stewards of our faith. In reading this Bible passage, there's this sense that the disciples are saying, "Lord, unless you give us more faith, We can't forgive the people the way you ask us to forgive. We can't love others the way you ask us to love. And we can't do the things that you command us to do. It's somewhat like saying, Lord, let me win the lottery so I can feed the poor. Jesus doesn't want us to get trapped into thinking that we always need more to make a difference. Many people give excuses for not achieving something significant for God's ministry. And if you ask them why, they'll always say something like this: I don't have enough gifts. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough talents or skills. I don't have the right spouse, the right parent, or the right teacher. In this case, the disciples are saying, we don't have enough faith to do that. But Jesus is telling us, if you have faith as big as a mustard seed, you have enough to make a difference in this world, because all you need is that you sow your mustard seed faith, and God will make it grow and bear fruit. That means even if you only have 2 pennies, you have enough to make a difference in this world. Now, I think Jesus compared faith to a mustard seed because a seed has life. Therefore, each time you apply your mustard seed faith, you sow the seed into the soil, and then you'll see God's power at work and produce the results. Now, of course, this is an oversimplified explanation because sometimes you don't see the results right away. Some of your actions might take generations to see the results. But if you take massive action with the little that you have, like that widow from Mark 12 that gave all that she had, you'll see some immediate results out of many. And they are enough to make your faith grow. Now, as a seed that doesn't stop reproducing, you shouldn't stop taking actions after seeing the result and experiencing the growth. In order to continue to grow, we should build on it, taking more actions, continue that upward spiral of growth. Now, here's the thing about faith. It's not great faith that we need, it's faith in a great God. Peter Kuzmic, who's a theologian and author, says this about faith. He says, hope is the ability to hear the music of the future. Faith is the courage to dance to it today. Biblical scholar N.T. Wright offers this imagery of faith. He says, faith is like a window through which you can see something. What matters not is whether the window is 6 inches or 6 feet. What matters is the God that your faith is looking out on. If it's the Creator God, the God active in Jesus and the Spirit, then the tiniest little peephole of a window will give you access to a power like you've never dreamed of. Power enough even to say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it will obey you. Seems nearly impossible, doesn't it? But in God, all things are possible. And our faith originates with God and comes to us as a gift. We just need to take the faith that we've already been given and deploy it more effectively. Does anybody here remember from elementary school when the teachers taught you about electromagnetics? Anybody? Well, good. I brought the experiment along today. If you take an ordinary nail, wrap a wire around it, and apply it to a battery, what happens? It will become a magnet to pick up objects of metal. Depending on how big of a battery you have, the more energy going through it, the larger objects you can pick up with it. So it's in that presence of that electrical field going around the nail that this nail is changed into a magnet. Now, as long as it remains in contact with the battery and gets that electromagnetic power from it, it will attract other pieces of iron to itself. So, when we do that, is the nail changed? No. What happens is the power that flows through the nail that makes the difference. And it's the same way with faith. We all have it, but every so often we doubt that we have it. We all get lost in thought and ask ourselves, where's my faith? Do I still have it? Did I lose it? If so, can I find it again? But the thing about faith is it's not even possession of ours in the first place. And that makes it kind of hard for us to lose faith. Because faith is a spiritual power that originates with God and comes to us as a gift. What we must do in our seasons of doubt is to hook ourselves up to God's battery terminals so the surge of that spiritual energy will flow into us and then out through us to others. Now, I want you to notice something about the response of Jesus to the disciples when they asked for more faith. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, he said, you could cause that mulberry bush to be uprooted and thrown into the sea. What I want you to notice is that Jesus doesn't say that it will happen in an instant, or will happen tomorrow, or next week, or next year. He doesn't say a word about how long it will take. It could be accomplished in a minute, or it might take an entire lifetime. But faith is the key. Even the tiniest amount of faith. The more difficult or daunting a task that we face, the more we may feel inadequate, and the more God can work through us and our faith. As I was researching this week, I read a wonderful sentence that I wish I could take claim for. It says, faith is not our ability to do the job, but God's ability to do the job through us. The only requirement on our part is to make ourselves available. Because faith is more about God's ability than it is about our ability. And then it is God who gets the credit. Jesus told the disciples that they didn't need more faith. They simply had to be able to tap into the faith that they already had. They needed to embrace the faith that was already present in them, even though it may have been just a small amount. Christ is saying, you have that faith. All you have to do is tap into his power and you're set. Today, on this World Communion Sunday, we are reminded of a very important way in which we can connect with God's power and increase our faith. And it comes in the power from this table. When coming to the Lord's table, we take into our hands a tiny morsel of bread, and we drink from the cup of sacramental wine. It may seem like we're holding in our hands something insignificant and inconsequential. It's ordinary stuff, this bread and this wine. It's no different in substance from what we might find on our own dinner tables at home. Yet, like the atom of hydrogen that's transformed by nuclear fusion into a blaze of power, this bread and this cup have the ability to transform our lives in astonishing ways. There is nothing magical about the material stuff in the communion elements. It's all about the power that we Christians call the Holy Spirit that activates these elements in our lives. Jesus said to his disciples that a mustard-sized morsel of faith is more than enough to uproot a mighty tree and cast it into the sea. There's no telling what a piece of communion bread or a sip of communion wine can do for people of faith who come to the Lord's table hungry and searching for what our host has prepared for us. So as you come to this table today, come as a humble servant. Come praising God for all the good and blessed things in your life, even if you're struggling in the midst of overwhelming trials. Come to this table today with confidence that God's gift of faith is available to you. And real faith, however minuscule, can overcome all things in God. Amen.